Okay, the plot thickens. A lot of what we got was repeats, but what we did get that wasn't a repeat, and what we could get, really looking forward to it. So, a lot to discuss here. So, first of all, to KO, we've got the old school players lamenting that they're on the outs, and this is really a first for Kelly Wigglesworth because you got to remember that she didn't really have an alliance, only to worry for about 2/3 of the game, and then for the remaining third, she just won every immunity here on out. So she, has never been on the outs, and nor has she had her name written down this whole time. But that's not happening again, no way. So, I'm gonna really like to see how she'll react to having her name written down. And then Jeff goes over to Terry and reveals his real strategy and how he voted out Vetus, one to get rid of a threat, but also to show the old school players his importance to actually get them to trust him even more so they can focus on the big threats such as Spencer and Sharin. Well, that does show that he is trying to play a much different game, and it actually is kinda ingenious, but at the same time, I'm not too sure how this is going to work out for him, because I'm not saying that this doesn't have potential to really get him somewhere, because unlike Kaz and possibly Rob Sesternino, Jeff, it has noticed the change in the game and might be able to work things out to not only where he can make himself indispensable and get a darn good way into the game, he just might be able to have the charm that could actually give him something to help him through the last couple of hurdles, because that's the thing though, even though I did mention that if you go to both sides, it does seem to appear to make you indispensable like it did with Rob Sesternino and Kaz, even though it didn't work for Penner. Towards the end, where, either one side is going to triumph over the other, or it's, down to just the very last few people, 4, 3 people, whatever you want to call it, your position suddenly becomes a lot weaker. Yeah. So that's the weakness to his bit. But there is the advantage that this is an all-star season, so you've got the added complexity to where all these people should have seen each other play, so it might work in this situation to be a little bit better than the other situations. I don't know. That's not to say that I didn't entirely dislike what Rob Sesternino and Kaz were doing, but I wasn't really a huge fan of Kaz, even though I did like how she Kagayan's pace, and Rob Sesternino, well, I wasn't as knowledgeable of reality TV then, and I had seen All Stars before I saw Amazon, so I was like, he's doing good here, but then he progressed into something totally stupid. It made me not want to associate myself with Rob Sesternino for a long time after I rewatched All Stars, even though I think that was my 3rd time watching the season. Yeah. Right. So enough about Takeo and Jeff for now. Then on Bion, really everyone's just sharing personal stories and hurting Steven a little bit. And I do like how these personal stories are humanizing a lot of the people, because as I mentioned in last week's video, Bion has more of the people that I'm not completely okay with or a little bit unsure about, because like Steven, I wanted to see him come back even though I thought that guy was doomed, but it has Keith, who I didn't want to see come back, it has Kaz, who I'm a little bit unsure about, then there's Savage, who likewise I'm unsure about for entirely different reasons, and then there's Joe, who I wanted to see behave differently, and then there's Monica, who I don't have a clue about. And who hasn't really done in the confessional this whole season, although she might have in the opening bits, but that's it. Yeah. I'm not normally keen to jump on the no confessional bits, but this time, yeah. So it's nice to get these moments from them, but it's showing that what we're getting on that tribe is different from Takeo, although of course next week that completely changes. Yeah. And then we've got the whole business of Abby, PFG, and Sharin having these social conflicts. Now, at first I was thinking, Abby, I think you're making a little big deal over nothing, and what PG was saying about you is kind of similar to what you were saying about her last week, okay? Then Abby has that breakdown, and I did actually begin to feel for her despite 30 seconds before going, okay, Abby, yeah. And then we've got the interesting moment where Terry's like, you know, guys, we just leaving her out here, you know, and we're all laughing about this. Shouldn't we, you know, try and do something? Now, I think a few people out there may try to throw Terry as being like, oh yeah, you're just trying to be the manly guy that you really shouldn't throw the sympathy card in here. Well, here's the thing. I personally want to argue that when it comes to the emotion of guilt, you don't feel guilt right away for your actions, okay? It takes a little bit to creep in to you, you know? Because I've had a couple of situations that I have felt guilty about, but it didn't happen immediately. It happened like half an hour later, at least, you know? Even though it was a minor incident, most of the time, so... You know, odds are he got a tiny bit of a chuckle and then just sat there for 20 minutes and decides, you know what, I think I'm going to go talk to her and see where her head's at. And, you know, I do like the fact that he did that, and it just so happened that he managed to work the magic correctly, that he got Abby to sympathize with him and the other people that was with him. Now, this is a nice advancement on Terry's bit, but there's two things. One, Shirin mentioned that actually there's a moment where he was talking to Kelly Wentworth and how he forced her to swear on her father that she's going to be with him, so that kind of sours the moment. And two, even though he is changing his game up, it's not so much that he's changing the game up because he feels like he should, even though in this instance it was. All the other instances appear to be because somebody else told him to change his game up. Because you gotta remember, in Exile Island, he really only seemed to try and ally with Shane over Danielle because his wife told him to. So maybe the progress we're seeing in him, not so much. Something to think about. It's not entirely a bad thing, but... given this guy's behavior last time, I think it is something we need to keep our eye on. Right. But, as I might have mentioned in this, I can't remember towards Abby, even though she's crying, feeling like everyone's against me. Abby, this game can change in the blink of an eye, both because of what producers did and what players do. Okay? Tons of people have looked like they have no shot and have somehow managed to get through or put themselves in an invincible position. Chris, anybody? Right. Okay, anything else to mention before the challenge? Nah, I don't think so. So, I should have realized that it was more likely Takeo was going to lose because of how much more camera time they got, but it actually ended up being a fairly close challenge, minus Takeo having issues with that crate. And I do love the fact how they were actually able to make it an incredibly close victory, because literally, Takeo had the puzzle completely figured out, but they just put the branch thingies that were on the left of the puzzle in the wrong spots, because one of them appeared to be a little lighter shade of yellowish green than the other. All they had to do was pick them up and do this, which is what Terry did a few seconds later, after they lost. So yeah, I mean, like, yeah, they did really try, but then they lost. And unlike last week, I was definitely a lot more bummed because, you know, that tribe doesn't seem to be having that much luck, even though the strategy discussions are more interesting, but it's not entirely fair because it's 100 for 0. Okay, let's try this last third of the video again, shall we? Alright, so after losing the challenge, Takeo goes back to camp. This is where Shirin's exit interviews really come into play, and how suddenly she and Spencer are suddenly in the worst positions in their tribe. Now, I didn't totally get how they ended up being here in the edit, even though they did put enough of it there that it could have been enough for us. Just Jeff suddenly going, oh yeah, these guys are the power players, we need to get rid of them, but there was a little bit more method to his madness, according to Shirin, because apparently it really was that it was a debate between Spencer and Abby going, but then she started to get a question mark on Jeff, And then Jeff, of course, started talking to everybody like he's been doing for a good amount of this season. And this is where the mouthing off bit really seemed to happen, but of course we weren't seeing that. Tad bit annoying, and it goes to show that this is another season where there's just too much stuff happening. Kind of annoying, but this is just the way life is, and like, we can't always have Big Brother live feeds, can we? Right, even though I've never watched the show with live feeds, so... And this is where I began to get a little depressed with the episode, because, Spencer and Shirin, I had kind of wanted to see both of them come back and get chances to change things up, but then it became clear that we were going to lose a storyline fairly early in the season, which really made me depressed, and like I couldn't really decide which one of them I truly wanted to see go, even though I thought Spencer was more likely to go, because here's the thing. Well, Spencer, we do know his personality, but he didn't get a chance to play the game like he wanted to. And then Shirin, I wanted her to stick around because I go, if you leave now, we're not going to be able to put our finger on you. And because this is your second time playing so soon after your first, odds are they're not going to bring you back for a third time unless it is the very last season of the show, which probably will happen around season 40, which the way the show is going. So, yeah, I had to deal with all that confliction, even though I thought it was more likely Spencer was going to go, because my reasoning was, even though Shirin's personality is a little trickier to figure out, I do feel her craziness can be used as an asset, and you have to remember, Blue Collar last season kept Shirin around as the last person to boot off from that side, because Joe was a huge threat, Jen had almost won an immunity challenge, and she did indicate that if you give her a good enough bone, she'll, latch on to it and then help out. So I'm like, yeah, you can still use Shirin here, Spencer. He is trying with that speech, sure, but I just don't see that speech as really buying it. Nor did I really buy his speech as buying it last time, because it was the other players' actions that saved him. Actually, no, it was mainly Kaz, I think I mentioned in that video. Yeah, it was Kaz that saved Spencer and Kagayan. Right, so then we get to Tribal. Everybody's hashing out their honest feelings, even though I'm like, can we just stop beating around the bush here and just vote Spencer out? But then the vote keeps changing back and forth, and then I go, okay, yeah, you just wanted to make sure they didn't have the idol, even though this is one situation where I go, I think you should have been able to clue in that they don't have the idol. And even then, I've never understood the logic of splitting their alliance perfectly down the middle. In my opinion, what you actually should do when you have this kind of situation where it's 7-2 is you don't go 4-3, you go 5-2, even though that will create a tie if the other people, vote together. It's just, have a specific target in mind and try and get rid of them above the other, not just simply flush out the idol, try and prioritize here. That's what I kind of think that they should have done. Right. But in the end, it turns out that they decided to vote out Shirin, and when I saw that, I just went, well, why did you keep Spencer? And even though they do try and throw in that little bit where Terry's like, and I was like, indicating that she might have flipped the script, here's who actually voted Shirin out. Spencer, Jeff Varner, PG, Kelly Wigglesworth, and Wu. So if you look at who voted for who, and how actually PG never really got a confessional after the challenge, they were always going to vote out Shirin. What? Come on, that's ridiculous. Even with Shirin's actions, I still don't completely buy it. She had done that much? Because I gotta be honest, I still think PG actually did more to bother Abby than Shirin did, so, This doesn't make any sense. I seriously would have believed Abby flipping the script more than I would have this situation. Come on. It's crazy. So yeah, Shirin goes without us getting a real good resolution to her story arc. Kind of depressing there. But the better game player is still here, so I have to deal with that. And then we've got the infamous twist where they're going to go from 2 tribes to 3 tribes, having a tribal switch wheeled on early in the game. And I'm really glad that they're doing that, because I was like, you know, since this is an All-Star cast, why not do 2 swaps like you did in All-Stars of Gaboon, you know? Huh? This would be a perfect opportunity to do that, especially since you have 20 people. So I'm glad that they're doing this. It keeps them on their toes. And I'm seriously, you know, kind of shocked that there are still times where people are just like, when it comes to tribe swaps, you know, because you remember how Colton went, crap, in one world when it happened, and then in Nicaragua, how the entire younger tribe was just like, come on, do we really need to have a swap? Guys, tribe swaps are the norm when it comes to this show, huh? Come on. Alright, now I think I got this half of the video good, or whatever fraction I said. Later.